of the most handsomest men playing Hearthstone currently, and see who can win the Duel of Wits.
Okay, so a lot of mulligans here. People are just not interested in those, late game cards. The Savjz does keep his Unleashed rounds. I think Unleash is a card you almost always keep, but because you have Undertaker, you might be looking for something different. If you didn't have Undertaker, I think he wouldn't even think about mulligan that Unleash, he would just basically keep it, but it's feasible that he wanted to just look for more under Death Rattle Minas to play on turn 2.
Yeah, and Mad Scientist, one of those cards that just give you so much synergy with cards like Undertaker, not to mention putting out traps and thinning your deck. An interesting pair of options here, but Mad Scientist usually puts out a good number of power on the board early game. And not to mention that it gives you the tempo from being able to squeeze out a trap that might be really effective in the early state of the board.
Yeah, and a huge draw from Kibler in that Shadow Manas, which is potentially going to get rid of both Savjz creatures without giving him the Death Rattle from the Mad Scientist. But no, because Savjz actually joined another Death Rattle guy, so his guy is now 3 toughness. Ooh. And 4 power actually trades with the Dark Cultist.
So a little unfortunate that the 1 mana Death Rattle minion of Web Spinner buffed it just enough to eliminate the Dark Cultist, and now Kibler's kind of in a little bit of an awkward situation because Shadow Madness won't get full value. And of course, clearing the board isn't really a true clear with Alkanized Soul Priest and Circle of Healing because you have those 2 1/1s remaining.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of trouble here. He still has Holy Nova next turn, which will clear the board if he chooses to go for the Alkanite Circle combo, but it's kind of a waste of the Alkanite combo at this point. Yeah, so chooses to just pass the turn.
Right.
Because none of his options are actually good.
It's a scenario where if he Hound Masters, you still have the 4 damage because there's nothing that can go above 4 health at the moment.
Yeah, definitely not too worried about that. And so this is interesting. He chooses to just play Anima Companion instead of doing Coin's Ledge Belcher. So it just wants to save that for later. Now Holy Nova actually, gets something else. So it does get the benefit of all his Death Rattle triggers, but at least the board is almost clear again.
Oh, now Savjz, by the way, has 2 freezing traps in his deck, PV, and something that's kind of an interesting interaction, as we do see Tiger as the card being taken from Web Spinner, an excellent role here for Savjz, is that Shadow Madness can even pop the minion back into your hand as if you owned it or thought stole it. So there's like a way to use Shadow Madness to do 2 things. It can take out a trap and take out a minion if you use it effectively. Kind of a cool little trick.
Oh yeah, I hope Kibler knows that, because that's not how it works in Magic.
Oh yeah?
In Magic, if you steal something and bounce it, it goes back to your opponent's hand. Because it's a physical game, so there's no way, you don't grab your opponent's cards, just give it back to them. So it's a little bit different in Hearthstone, something you have to get used to. Yeah, Kibler is falling dangerously low here.
Well, if
there's a Tiger attacking.
Yeah, that's 12 damage in 1 turn, and puts Kibler in a really tough spot.
Yeah, and he has that trap. So Kibler probably has to go with Alkanite Circle here to clear it. And then he'll be left with a 3-1 Alkanite. Can imagine he's got much better options.
Yeah, and the problem is, activating these trap gives a little bit more damage back to the hunter. So
yeah,
you're always worried about that.
Yeah, that's the thing with Hunter. It doesn't matter how good your deck is against it. Sometimes it's just very, very hard to beat. It just does so much damage with so few cards. Just a bow, a hero power, and a trap has so much damage already.
Okay, well now Savjz kind of has to count and make sure to see if there's any opportunity to lethal, but he's a few points of damage off. But he's also drawn at least minions to play as opposed to just reactive cards like more Hunter's Marks or Flares and whatnot. So he's got stuff to do. It's all about being able to plan out your next course of turns. Oh, also another way to tell that it is freezing trap for sure is that the second one is in his hand and he's unable to play at the moment because in Hearthstone you can't layer the same trap twice over.
Yeah, now he's probably thinking, do I want to play Unleash, Coin's Ledge Voucher, or just Ledge Voucher Hero Power? Or maybe just Unleash Hero Power. Those are all valid options. I think I would probably go with the Unleash and Ledge Voucher. Even though you missed the opportunity to use the Hero Power for a turn. Nope, yeah, chooses to just maximize that Hero Power damage, you know, which is definitely sensible when his opponent is at 8 life.
Ooh, Zombie Chow with Circle of Healing, but I don't know if you can... I don't know if you have time to get all this off. I mean, Kibler has some cool things at his disposal. In fact, Shadow Madness is one of the best ways to deal with Sludge Belcher. But unfortunately, he doesn't have all the mana and the time available to him. I like Savjz going for the hero power because with Alkanite Soul Priest on board, you know Priest kind of wants to keep it to a certain extent because of how powerful it makes his 2-mana hero power. But at the same time, he can't heal himself and delay and put himself out of range for things like Kill Command if he plans to keep this Alkanite here. So it's a little bit of a tricky conundrum for Kibler here.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Though if he did play the Unleash plus the Hunter's Mark, he could be facing an empty board with a 3/5, which might translate into more damage next turn than the hero power was now. But yeah, definitely, now at least by holding the Unleash, he means that if Kibler overcommits, he's just dead.
All right, well, seems like he just wants to build back the board a little bit and try to seize it back, but he's going to leave up the Slime token because he doesn't have the opportunity to use his hero power anymore with Alkanite, and just set up a wall of taunts as best as he can. And this is what you need to do to stall against Hunter in case they have a Leroy finisher. Savjz doesn't have such a thing, but he's got ways to push through damage. Despite having 2 charges on his weapon, most likely will have to be dedicated to removing this wall here.
Yeah, probably. No, he can't clear the board of taunts this turn. So that's already fine, I think. Only costing him 3 mana.
He's got Hunter's Mark, so he can push through one of them, and then his weapon could use to kind of chew through the Zombie Chow.
Yeah, it probably will. And he still gets to hit for 2 damage plus his hero power if he wants to. Oh, yeah, right. Choose to play low tap instead of using the hero power. Definitely better here. Putting out a body that can't be answered immediately. And, you know, if it does get answered, it was going to take Kibler's whole turn to play a Shadow or Death.
Wow, rough position for Brian Kibler because he draws Sylvanas and she's just way too slow in the current state of things. Even though normally she's a rather effective minion against what Hunter can do, it's just that you don't have the opportunity to set up. And you've already used your Defender of Argus, which we know that a lot of priests often cut the second one to try to make their decks a little bit more lean and effective. What did Savjz pick up off the top that he immediately grabbed? I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either. Oh, Savannah Highmane.
Well, how about that? One of the best cards in the game.
Yeah, definitely not looking great for Brian Kibler here. You know, he's not immediately dead, but you have to be thinking, how is he going to win?
Improve his hand a lot, though. Oh, he is running 2 defenders. Okay. If he drew Shadow Word Death, I felt like there was a chance to stabilize because you can use your full 10 mana to hit the Savannah Highmane, go for the clear, and then heal yourself back up to 11 while your opponent's sitting on a few cards. And if you've been paying attention, also the coin. A little unfortunate that Brian doesn't have the exact answers, but that's kind of what Priest is a lot of the times too. Sometimes the deck becomes, well, I have the answers. Do I draw them in the right order and in time for me to answer my opponent?
Yeah, this was still a pretty good draw. Like making sure does Sylvanas has to be attacked. You know, since he came after the Highmane, he has the chance to steal a 2/2.
That's true.
So I think Kibler would be fine with the board here. His only concern is his life total. But no, not only concern, he'll still lose the board, but you know, the most pressing concern here is his life total.
Oh my. Well, he takes the 1/1, so it's not like Savjz can Houndmaster and press for damage. He has to play this turn a little bit slower now and drop the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, and the
then
one
just
one will probably stop freezing trap from being played here.
all right. Well,
Finally gets to use his coin.
yeah, he's just trying to squeeze in the hero power. Why not? Get your opponent one step closer. And now looks like Brian Kibler has an opportunity here with Shadow Madness on Sludge Belcher once again. One of the best targets in
Yeah.
in all of Hearthstone, honestly, to just get the value off the Death Rattle trigger.
Yeah, and playing that the 4-3 was maybe a little bit dangerous considering he knows Kibler has Arcanine in hand since he got bounced. So did you go through both circles already? Or
I believe so. He used one
okay.
offensively and one defensively.
Oh yeah, he bumped it like that. Okay, so that's why he feels free to just, jam the board with minions, even knowing Kibler has that Arcanine.
All right, well, Kibler's going to take the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah,
Give him
has to attack
temporary
first.
possession.
Yeah, Kibler gets to clear the board here with Holy Nova.
All right, so if Savjz doesn't get a way to do direct damage in the next couple turns, maybe Kibler can kind of rebound from this. But then he's always floating eternally at the 7 health mark, which means kill command just becomes a way for you to kill. Not to mention that he doesn't have good pressure on the board either. He's only got 2 attacks, so Hunter still has plenty of time here.
Yeah, interesting that Savjz keeps the 100 Creeper in his hand, doesn't play it, so saving for Buzzard or for kill command.
Uh-oh.
So there's a mind control.
Savannah high main here, PV. Although,
yeah,
mind control does allow you to take it, but you're starting to get a little bit too low on health.
Yeah, I mean, you do fall to 3 life on board, but that's not is 5 much different than 7. Kill command with a beast still kills you, and you still have that taunt to protect you. So I think it's definitely worth it.
Wow, second tracking. Savjz has just dug through 7 cards in his deck and be able to try to whittle through a lot of the inefficiencies. And also is now starting to just play stuff so that way he can get a little bit damage in. It's starting to, again, come very close for Kibler to die here. Can he pull out?
It does seem like there's a lot of difference between 5 and 7 now. Since the taunt is out of the way, the weapon can actually finish him off next turn. And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, no matter what, there's 5 damage looking at him, and Kibler can't heal out of this unless he was able to draw a card that could change it, but I don't think there is.
Yeah, he had to hope it was Explosive Trap so he could heal one of his minions and maybe draw something awesome, but it's not, so...
Yeah, he was able to finally stabilize the board and turn the momentum, but it was just too low on health, and Hunter able to just end this game. So... it was actually a valiant comeback effort. I'm so surprised Savjz didn't even draw either of his kill commands too. That's a little bit of a unlucky scenario considering that I think he dug through 20 plus cards in his deck. Either way, good start to Savjz from Team Liquid, and he's going to go to a 1-0 lead here.
Yeah. So what does Brian Kibler have to...
And he needs to win the series to stay competitive in the overall group. Not off to a good start as choosing not to ban Hunter to ban Handlock, or at least the Warlock class, hasn't panned out for him just yet because both of these classes have kind of been giving him a little bit of trouble. But of course, we did see a little bit of unfortunate series of draws in the previous series against Naxxramas. This time around, Kibler does have some valuable cards. He's got a decent start, ways to answer minions with removal, and he's even got Spectral Knight early.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a while till it gets to play the Spectral Knight, but he does have a good curve. He gets... Probably not going to Wrath here, I imagine. But... yeah, actually gets to make use of his Zero Power early, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and it's important that Kibler was able to get something like Haunted Creeper to establish board dominance early, so that way cards like Web Spinner and Undertaker don't get the game way out of control. Now there's Leok, which is kind of interesting because of how nicely it lines up to swipe for the following turn. Ooh, Kibler presented with an interesting choice, though, of innovating something out early.
Yeah, he could innovate a swipe, or just a charge guy and kill the 2-4.
Yeah, I think so. You're still not afraid of Unleash the Hound's combo, so putting a 3 minion on the board is still okay. And you've taken off all the beasts, so Houndmaster can't get value, and that's unfortunate for Savjz, who has just acquired his Houndmaster off the top, and now he's in a situation where, well, he's gonna have to expend a resource that he didn't plan on using.
Yeah, that always feels pretty bad. Using Hunter's Mark on a, I mean, it effectively had 1 toughness already, you know, you're just using it for 1 damage. It's like executing a 1 toughness guy. You always feel bad about it.
Yeah, that was like a Moonfire card, which is like 0 mana, deal 1 damage, right? You put Moonfire in your deck. But
yeah.
this kind of aggressive druid doesn't have many creatures that has a significant amount of health until, you know, there's only a handful that you can use it on. You can't use it until even like turns 5 or 6 or 7. Druid of the Claws, and then Cairn and Ancient of Lords. Those are the only things you can use it on that has significance. Everything else is just kind of minimal value. So he prizes Unleash the Hounds way more significantly, and he's even picked up the Buzzard so he can draw 4 cards next turn.
Yeah, but importantly, he cannot Hunter's Mark at night. So even though he's going to draw 4 cards, that guy's just going to stay there.
But he wants
Timberwolf. It's such a good card.
Timberwolf can help him get that +1 buff to the attack, and then able to land the damage necessary on the Spectral Knight. But he doesn't get it, so he's going to have to clear everything else except for it. But the good news is that he's acquired a slew of great powerful cards that will help him in over the next couple of turns.
Yeah, definitely. And he uses a second Hero's Mark here. So he's pretty confident that Kibler is not playing the Ancient of War version. You know, I'm pretty sure that if he thought Kibler was playing all those 5/10 taunt guys, he would not have used those marks.
Right. Well, Savjz has written guides on this Druid deck specifically, so when you see Spectral Knight and you see Harvest Golem and Haunted Creeper early on, those aren't minions that you typically see in the Ramp Druid because, well, they're not as powerful as like those Ancients that you mentioned. And Kibler, although by the way, he does have Spectral Knight number 2 in hand. He does have ways to kind of impact the board with removal and smaller creatures, but I think double Spectral Knight is just way too strong, and if you pick up the opportunity to taunt them up with Defender of Argus, you're going to be in an excellent spot.
Yeah, Freezing Trap not even that awesome, because it just resets his guy back to 6 toughness. I mean, it does make him spend his entire turn, but definitely not what you want your Freezing Trap to do here. But yeah, Kibler is definitely, you know, on the aggressive here, and he does have 2 swipes, so has a lot of damage in his hand.
Yeah, and, you know, there are cards that you can deal with it. Sludge Belcher, in terms of card for card and mana cost, is probably one of the better ways to combat something like the Spectral Knight, because it can't just easily push through. But Kibler does have tools at his disposal. He might pick up some better ones, too, in the next card.
Ooh, just drew more damage. So yeah, it's easy for people, when people play against Hunter, they generally think, oh, I have to be defensive because, you know, my opponent's playing Hunter, he can just kill me out of nowhere. But sometimes the best defense is a good offense. And here, at least the trap disrupted Kibler's mana curve, so he can't attack Hero Power the Sludge Belcher and replay the Spectral Knight. It looks like he's just not going to replay it.
Okay. I was going to save Savage Roar instead of, and just kind of use the Wrath here to draw a card. Kind of accomplishes the same anyways, just leaves up a small little token. And he's drawn a few other small creatures to get Savage Roar to have a big payoff. So it seems like Kibler's board's starting to shape up and develop. And Savjz still has to kind of just counter it with whatever he draws, and hopefully another way to have a high impact with the Sludge Belcher here.
Yeah, he does get a way to get rid of the Spectral Knight finally. With his bow if he wants to.
Right. Now, Kibler's still trying to figure out a way, find an opening where Savage Roar can maximize damage. You don't see many taunters in the Hunter deck, and just look at how disruptive it's been. Oh my, Kibler does pick up Keeper of the Grove. That's a big draw.
It is, but does he use it now? Or does he wait for Savannah Highmane?
Well, Savannah Highmane makes a lot of sense in the situations where you want to control the board. but a lot of times you're trying to just rush your opponent. So you can make a justification of, no no time like the present. Your opponent might not have high main. And holding keeper could be something that's holding you back, because that's another 2/4 body. Not to mention you kill off the 1/2.
Yeah, it's definitely possible that he just goes keeper, does ledge belcher, and then Savage roars and attacks for 9. Just trying to set up his 2 swipes. As long as some of his minions arrive, his opponent will be out of taunters, no more ledge belchers. He doesn't have a beast, so he would have to play beast and Howlmaster, which he does have, but...
Alright.
So going for the more passive play here. Not necessarily passive, but not the most aggressive possible.
Interesting.
Which I think, yeah. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. It seems to me like his kill condition here is just going for the face more than, trying to control the board. But it's probably going to work either way.
Yeah, I was thinking about why you'd probably want to put less bodies on compared to you having more with Savage Roar, but looks like he's also being a little defensive around a second Unleash. Just show a little respect for it. Plus, he values the first body that you have with the Haunted Creeper, and make it more resilient to a clear from Hunter. Savjz under a tough spot because he wants to kind of... Like, he's coming up on turn 9, where if his opponent has combo, he could die. And that way you want to set up a strong wall. But it feels like now is the time to drop something like Hyman, because it's the least threatened by a strong minion. So if the time isn't now, then when will it be?
Yeah, I mean, at this point you have to choose. Do you want to try to beat the combo, or do you want to win a game in which he doesn't have the combo? Because if you do it half-half, you end up losing if they have the combo or if they don't have it. So if he taunts it, does he even survive the combo? I mean, he gets to kill a minion. He gets to kill a minion like this, and...
Alright. So how much damage does Kibler have, by the way, PV?
With the combo, or right
13.
now?
13. He's got 13 damage currently.
14, right?
Oh, 14, right, with hero power.
Yeah, 14.
Good count.
Yeah, so... No, does he cycle that? Does he just, try to go for the throat? Yeah, I feel like playing Savage Roar last turn would have given him, the bonus on 3 minions, and that's probably the best it's ever gonna be. So
Yeah,
now
it's
I don't
true.
think he's gonna get more than 3 minions now. But he still could. I mean, he still has that spider when he dies, he puts 2 tokens.
You bring up an excellent point, though. If you spread out the minions a little bit more and took a chance, you would have had, let's see, you would have had 12 plus the swipe. You would have had 16 damage. No, you would have actually had 7.
Yeah, I think...
Just kidding with the hero power. Well, funny how that works.
Yeah, I think here he has to just ignore the Savannah Hymen and try to, hit his opponent. Trying to control the board when your hand is... all this burn is probably not great, so he probably just has to ignore the Hymen. Which he does, doesn't try to ref swipe it or anything.
Alright, well, that gives him the ability to answer it, and now Savjz has confirmed his opponent doesn't have the combo, so now it looks like Kibler has to deal with an 8-7 Hymen. He needs ways to push through, and he's got some fragile minions. But he does draw Druid of the Claw, which gives him extra charge abilities with Savage Roar.
Yeah, and how much damage does he deal here? So if he uses... So, let's see. He can deal 12.
Gosh. 12, and then set yourself up to maybe swipe to be successful, but your opponent has so much
13. Did
power on the board.
So the 2 middle guys are going to go at high main, so it's going to be 4, 5, 6, and that. Yeah, he has 13 if he hero powers. And he will be at 22 himself, facing down a board of 14 damage. His opponent has to have 8 extra, plus 0.6 extra, so it is tough. tough position to be in. He doesn't know Savjz doesn't have any form of damage in his hand. So from his perspective, he can't just go for it.
Alright, well, the Savjz Roar does come out, and it's gonna be a little painful in the backswing, but I think he's got to do this.
Yeah, he doesn't have an alternative, just has to hit his opponent.
Right, swipe now becomes a finisher and says if you have the damage, you have it. But let's see, there's 14, 16 right now, so Savjz only needs 6 more points of damage here.
Yeah, so it's like Kibler is gonna win.
I don't foresee him a way to kill his opponent this turn. And he doesn't have any way to gain health because Hunter is not known as a class that can regenerate. So a risk that ends up paying off for Kibler, but of course it was his only possibility to win. If he just played cleanup, this swipe would actually not be able to accomplish anything whatsoever. And now it looks like Kibler is going to take down the Hunter deck and adds another body count for this Druid deck, which has historically performed very well in VGVN history.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I definitely think Kibler played this game right. You know, he could have tried to go for the board. At least, you know, in the later turns of it, he could have tried to go for the board and recognize that he would probably not win that fight. So better bring the game to a fight that you can win, which is life total. So, you know, if you ever watched Batman, there's a sentence that, you know, if you don't like what they're saying, change the conversation.
See if Game 3 Kibler can turn around and secure a firm 2-1 lead and potentially be in a prime position to win this series. And he needs it too because he's down 0-3 over, in the game score and 0-1 overall. So a win kind of stabilizes him and gives him a strong chance to potentially advance if he can beat Hyped, who is yet to play and will be taking on Naxxramas next. Savjz does have a pretty decent early curve. You want to just make sure it turns through 2 to 4. You're always dropping these minions. And he's got something kind of shaping up. And, you know, at the same time, Kibler always has coin to kind of smooth out his curve. But it's still a little rocky at the moment.
Yeah, he does have a shade for turn 2, but he would really like to have another 3-drop for turn 3. So depending on what Savjz plays, he could always raft something. He's considering whether he wants to spend his coin here. I think he probably should. He could go back-to-back keepers on turns 3 and 4, but then when is he going to play that shade?
That's a good question.
A bit of a conservative play from Kibler, you know, trying to save his resources as much as possible, you know, thinking if you can kill something with your hero power, then don't spend any cards to deal with it, but it's going to take 4 turns of hero power to kill that spider.
Yeah, Savjz is already pretty far ahead. Considering that his opponent misses 2-drop and he's going first, so he's going to be playing his threats slightly quicker than his opponent unless Innervate comes into play. And now Kibler does have kind of something shaping up. He can coin out Spectral Knight next turn and then have an ability to make a pretty strong board with Defender of Argus, considering that most likely Shaded Naxxramas will survive, barring any kind of surprise cards. But at the same time, how much damage are you conceding to your opponent? You have to kind of factor in the calculation of what your opponent can also have to build his board. Like, what if his opponent had Defender of Argus and starts shoving damage and you're just taking way too much? It's tricky.
Yeah, I think he has to preserve the board a little bit here. And I imagine he's gonna silence the Golem, but... Just silence the spider. So he thinks it's easier to hero power away 1/2/1 guy than 2/1/1 guys, which is definitely true.
Alright. The Harvest Golem, of course, much stronger than the Echoing Ooze, considering the 2-attack 4 body from the Keeper of the Grove can bully. Alright, Kibler would have loved to have that shade a couple turns ago so he can have double shade early into Defender of Argus, but alas... Of course, we can kind of pair everything else together, and that's not always how the draws go.
Yeah, definitely. So here he uses 2 keepers, so he's out of silences. And if Savjz could get, you know, a Spectral Knight with a taunt or something, basically any minion with a taunt, he knows that's going to stick. He knows that Cairn is not going away without a 4/5, because all the keepers are gone.
True. Oh, also I forgot about how Black Knight is one of the best answers, probably the best answer, to a Spectral Knight that's been taunted up by Defender of Argus. So in the mirror matchup, this card is a heavy lifter, considering
Yeah.
the possibilities of what could happen with Spectrum Knights and taunting, how you can't only target it with battle cries.
Yeah, for sure. Though in this particular matchup, the fact that he can't be targeted by spells is not that relevant. I mean, it is if you look at Kibler's hand right now, which is 2 Wraths, but generally they want to attack into it with creatures anyway, so, you know, not that big a plus over a normal 4/6. But yeah, still definitely an upside, and definitely much easier to kill with Black Knight than with anything else.
Well, Savjz kind of wondering if he should power up his Harvest Golems slightly, so maybe he could have a fighting chance against some of the minions that come out. Or do you taunt up the Spectre Knight in addition with the Echoing Ooze?
Yeah, or do you just play Karen Bloodhoof?
My shield for Argon.
Yeah, it's gonna go for the face tier with 5 damage, and Kibler is at a not super high life total at this point, considering he's, you know, he seems pretty dominated on the board.
Yeah. And this is just a product of Kibler missing one of the drops, so he's a minion behind, and he's also a mana behind because of the way the way the turns lined up. So he's looking at a potential Savage Roar just pushing him out of the game, and he needs a way to stabilize, but it's really hard to with the current stats on the board, and he doesn't have like an easy way for mass removal. Druid doesn't have access to that at the moment.
Yeah, and you see that the shade that he could have played in turn 2 is still in his hand. So he basically never had a chance to play it because he fell too far behind. So the game definitely not going the way Kibler imagined it would. You know, he has all those spells, he has a lot more cards in hand than Savjz does, but he doesn't have the mana to cast all of them. Which is definitely one way to win this matchup. You know, you could try to win because you have more cards and just outclass your opponent, but you could just try to win by being faster and establishing a good board presence before they can react, and that's what Savjz went for. And now we're gonna see the Black Knight being put to good use.
Yeah, I think you gotta pick up an easy trade here and killing off one of these minions, whether you kill off the Spectrum Knight or you kill off the Ooze and just kind of let your opponent hold. But the way Savjz phrased his turn was definitely indicative of Savage Roar, so you take out the bigger minion in case it was the worst case scenario. And now
yeah,
Kibler...
I wouldn't play the... Sorry, go on.
I don't know, you can go ahead and talk about
I think
you're using the Keeper here, right?
Yeah, the problem is Black Knight is, you know, the only targets are defender targets, so you want to use it as early as possible. Not as early as possible, but you know, Argo's already gone. You know, he just played one. So you know you're probably not going to have another target. Though there's also Druid of the Claw, so that's also a good target. But yeah, he could have just attacked it for 2 and played Karen Bloodhoof, which I think would have been my choice.
Ah, okay, playing Karen instead. Either way, the 4/5 body is out there. And now it's always constantly threatening lethal, even though if you might or might not have it. And with Black Knight's been used, Kibler feels a lot more likely to play this taunt, not afraid of what happens. In Savjz top decks, the Savage Roar, is that enough to end this game right here? I believe so, because you have that extra burst
Yeah,
through
for sure.
With,
even has the silence for the... Yeah.
Alright, so game 3 will go to Savjz and wins a very important mirror match to put him at the match point here in order to go 1-0 in the groups. And Kibler's going to have to rely on his Shaman deck, which Brian Kibler in a 0-2 spiral, which basically puts him out of the running unless the rest of the people in the group also lose their series quite one-sidedly. So Kibler needs to win this bad if he wants to stay competitive in the group here.
Yeah, especially because he lost in area 0-3, and that's the first tiebreaker. So if he does go 0-2, he will probably not make it, unfortunately.
All right. Well,
also,
the
another
curve
thing
looks
is that
good.
It does, yeah. He has plays for the first, 4 turns. Other thing is that this matchup, the decks are somewhat similar in my mind, except Shaman's hero power is a lot better. It's a lot more connected to what he wants to do as a whole than Hunter's hero power. So if the game just goes long with parity, then the Shaman hero power is going to outclass the Druid hero power a lot. So yeah, as you said, the onus is definitely on the Druid deck.
All right, well, these 2-3s are going to be the big bullies on the board. No matter how Savjz tries to struggle, it's going to kind of, it can't really match toe-to-toe, card for card. Now, Savjz does have Innervate, so his hand is really starting to shape up to be pretty decent. And this is an opportunity for him to kind of plan on his next few turns on how he wants to use his mana here.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to use that Innervate. He could just use it to, you know, hero power and cast a spell, or just jam a second ooze, which probably not good since he knows Savjz can't Lightning Storm this turn, but he can Lightning Storm next turn. So you only get one attack. It's probably not worth it. Just flooding the board even more, casting your Innervate to do so. The choice is Shade or Harvest Galling.
Yeah, with the knowledge you just
like
mentioned, would you not play Shade instead, so that way your opponent can't Lightning Storm, in which case you have the ability to at least have it survive compared to next turn, it's a little bit more vulnerable?
Yeah, definitely. You know, 3 toughness is still not very resilient against Shaman, because all the removal is 3 damage and Lightning Storm could do 3 damage, but it's much better than 2. And, you know, he's not gonna have a better window than right now. So interestingly, he chose not to attack.
Yeah, always in the back of your mind.
Could have attacked. Because Hunter Creeper effectively trades for a 1-2-3 by itself. He had attack last turn.
Yeah, you make yourself a little more open to something like the Healing Totem, which we saw, but that's still kind of a lower probability, only 25% chance. Now, Kibler rolls Spell Power.
Yeah, and I assume... Yeah, if he hits the Healing Totem, he's just gonna attack your minions anyway, so he's gonna get value from that. You know, you only heal one, so... Can you imagine this exact same situation would happen, except one of those guys will be lower, and he would have 2 tokens. So he would actually be able to finish the taunt guys with his hero power. And maybe not expose his Shade to a 3 damage removal spell.
Okay, well, now Savjz can remove effectively what's on the board here. And also put out some more minions, just start doing some ways to kind of sneak in damage the next couple of turns, and he has Ancient of Lore to follow up.
Yeah, he does have, you know, pretty good turns 5 and 6 with Ancient of Lore and Spectral Knight. But again, I guess we're gonna get to a point where neither player has a significant board, so the advantage will still be on Kibler's side. We'll have the first threat first. Since of his Lightning Storms now, all he can do is just cast a totem.
Nice. I always like playing the first copy in your hand from the closest it was to the deck, or from being recently drawn, so that way it's like, oh yeah, I just conveniently drew the exact answer I needed to wipe the board or affect the state of things, and then just like, oh god, you got so lucky.
Oh, sorry, I've been casting this game the whole... I keep thinking Kibler is the Shaman guy. Sorry, Kibler is the Druid guy. So just...
no worries. It's just confusing because
most of the time I said Kibler.
Sure.
Just reverse it.
So Savjz does drop Spectral Knight and opts to keep Ancient of Lore, so that way his opponent can't just simply hex and respond to it. Not to mention that it's not like his opponent can get great value off of things like Flame Tongue Totem. And I think it's just a strong choice. A lot of people would immediately say, well, there's only a 1/1 totem. Surely there has to be like an opportunity to use Ancient of Lore now. But he's just wisely holding back, showing restraint. And he still has the opportunity to next turn if he wants to use Ancient of Lore, if he sees the opportunity. Elsewise, I think now is a good time to set this minion up. Strong play.
Yeah, for sure. Though he... Yeah, no, that's definitely fine. Yeah, playing around Flame Tongue Totem is really smart here. And Kibler doesn't have any great options at this point. You know, he could just play a mana Totem and just draw a card and absorb 4 damage. But that's not great. And he could play Defender of Argus, just taunt 2 small guys that were gonna die anyway, so that's also not great. Yeah, chooses to go for a little bit more for board presence.
Ooh, and now this gives Savjz an opportunity to get some value off of Black Knight.
It does, yeah, but does he even need it? It's probably the best play here. You know, it's not going to get much better unless his opponent plays Alak here,
Yeah.
which is a very, very good Black Knight target. But
Yeah, often, though, you don't get the luxury of having the ability to respond to Alec here, right? Usually the first time you see Alec here is the last time you do.
yeah.
All
But even
right.
if you do respond to it, it's already dealt a lot of damage, you know, not necessarily to you, but it's already cleared your board or something. So yeah, definitely just maximizing his value right now. And, you know, Kibler can strike back with an attack plus a fire elemental to leave the board at roughly parity. Except his opponent again has the first move, so his opponent can remove his threat and keep attacking.
Oh my. Kibler is opting to remove the Black Knight over something like the Spectrum Knight. Which
Yeah.
is, I guess, because he wants to keep his 2/3 alive, so he can't use a Lightning Bolt on it. And try to pressure the Druid into going for an easy trade, and that can allow him to consequently start building the board back. Interesting choice. And Savjz is going to immediately respond with Ancient of Lore, which he's been waiting to do a couple turns and seeing if he had an opportunity to. And now he does. He can even innervate and try to follow up this play if he wants to continue trying to remove the board effectively in his favor.
Yeah, I thought he would though. Yeah, he's just gonna attack the minion and pass the turn here.
Oh my. Doomhammer draw. Oh, sorry. Rockbiter with the Doomhammer draw.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage, and you know, a lot of damage to everything to Kibler, and Kibler doesn't really care. You know, he's at 30 life, so definitely a very strong card for Kibler to draw here. And not only does he get rid of the board, it also threatens 12 more damage over the course of the game. And when Savjz is at 18, you know, 12 is a very large portion of that.
Yeah, definitely. Savjz does have the ability to respond with spells and a combination of even battle cries. But now this kind of gives Shaman the ability to respond immediately. And it's not very threatening to see a Haunted Creeper this late unless you're afraid of the combo, but he's still got a good enough health.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, he can follow it up with Harrison Jones or Low Tab. Now the question is, do you use those hammer charges to, you know, kind of kill Keeper of the Grove, or do you just go for the face? Interesting decision here.
It could depend on, if you want to play Lothab to deny turn 9 combo possibilities, it could depend on your totem roll here. So you roll a totem first, see if you can be a little bit more defensive with a taunt totem, and then evaluate. Or even,
Yeah, could be.
Even if you get Spell Power Totem, you can Earth Shock and then kill off the Keeper of the Grove and then play Manatite Totem.
Yeah, or just attack the Spider and Lightning Storm and hope to hit a 4 and a 2/4 if you do hit the Spell Totem. But yeah, I mean, if you know you're gonna use the Tilted anyway, might as well just do it first so you know what's happening.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
There's
so like it's
a lot
not
of
though.
ways to play this turn, actually, the more I think about it.
Yeah.
All right. And, I mean, Earthshock gives him flexibility because if he picks up Rockbiter number 2, he can use Earthshock in case his opponent has any kind of taunters that was coming out of the blue, like Druid of the Claw, in case he wants to be defensive. But now Savjz has to use Swipe on Manatite Totem, and that's stuff that you like to see. It's just inefficient. Manatite Totem pays for itself. Of course, you're sad to lose it, but at the same time, you recognize your opponent had to waste a card, and now Druid's starting to kind of fall behind the card count here.
Yeah, I wonder if people, you know, try to kill Manatite Totem just way too aggressively. It's something I generally experience, that people they see it and they can't bear the possibility of their opponents drawing an extra card, so they just do anything in their power to get rid of it. And in that scenario, it's very, very good because it pays for itself. They have to use the mana too, so it's just a super good arcane intellect. But yeah, the downside here is that, you know, Savjz has no pressure, so he knows that guy's going to be there for a while, so he has to get rid of it.
Have you ever seen, I don't know how long you've been able to kind of browse stuff like this subreddit, but whenever I see posts that's just like as bust as they can to shut down a card they don't like Nurshire Cleric, this guy once posted that he double innervated and swiped a turn 1 Cleric just because he hated Nurshire Cleric and draws that much, and I immediately upvoted. I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing, you know, it's just very unbearable to see your opponents drawing a lot of cards. It's a horrible feeling. You just think you're going to lose the game so badly.
Right. All right, the Rat for one picks up Druid Claw, so it gives him ability to kind of choose how he wants to remove this, or if he wants to play defensive. Even has the availability of Swipe and Innervate to kind of push it out, and I'd recommend doing so because Innervate becomes increasingly less useful the longer you wait, because the mana is best served earlier on. That's the whole purpose of Innervate, as opposed to over time.
Yeah, especially in this deck, the other deck has a lot of 6-cost minions and stuff, so in the late game you could draw 2 and just play 2 of them in the same turn, but in this particular Druid version, you generally don't have that many cards in your hand, you don't have that many expensive cards, so you're usually not limited. 10 mana is usually enough to do whatever you want to do, so if you see an opportunity to use Innervate, you just go for it. You're very happy to get rid of it, because unlike Wildgrowth, you can't cycle it.
All right, now Kibler's been patiently waiting with cards like Lotheb, and he knows his opponent's down to 1 card, which is that's just really tricky because it's how much do you play around something like Savage Roar that can push you out of the game, and if so, do you go for the extra clear so he can't get that 2 damage bonus? Either way, though, it looks like he can't fully remove the board, and just 1 Savage Roar might end this tournament run, essentially, because he can't lose here. He can't lose 3-1 in his second series and be 1-6 overall in the scores.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with his play of just, taking the damage and killing that guy. You're going to take the damage anyway, and you're not... It doesn't seem like you're going to raise your opponent next turn if you just let him attack your Flame Teutonin. So...
Ooh. Savjz is 1 damage from being able to kill off his opponent. Keeper the Grove is the extra 2, and then Hero Power is 7. So he is still looking for a way to not die. I guess the silver lining is Lotheb is just a 5/5 body and nothing else because he didn't have spells anyways.
Yeah. Now he's thinking, do I attack that Totem? Or do I just attack him and hope, that's enough? Like he's just going to silence it and attack his opponent. Instead of, so opting for some more direct damage as opposed to just trying to clear the board, which I think is smart when his opponent is at 8. Hasn't done that yet, but...
Well, yeah, Harvest Golem's coming down for sure. So he's like, get this out of the way. So I'm not delayed or roped by any chance.
Yeah.
But it is a little tricky, It's how do you go about this? What can your opponent kill you next turn? If you're just focused on this Flame Tongue.
Oh, he definitely can. No, your opponent has 13 damage if you don't kill the Flame Tongue Totem.
Right.
Yeah, now it's much, much harder.
Okay, so
there's only 9 and you're at 15. So he needs 6 more damage.
Yep, he needs 6 more damage. Alec here is exactly what it would be.
So he would be dead if he hadn't gotten rid of that totem.
Right. Okay.
Interesting.
Kibler still... Can you fully clear the board here? So if he rolls a Spell Power Totem.
Yeah, he could Earth Shock the Golem. I mean, he's gonna tilt it anyway, so might as well just do it before all his calculations.
Alright. Well...
Yeah, he could clear the board, but he will be at 1 life, I think. Is that right? So the Lotheb kills the 4/4, the 2 minions and Earth Shock kill the Golem, and then he has to attack and Lightning Bolt the other one. Or not necessarily in that order, like just Lightning Bolt attack and...
Now that you have Taunt Totem, maybe you can play a little bit more liberally, like Lightning Bolts. You can keep as much health as your Lotheb as you want. Although he did use both swipes. This is tricky. I don't know. It's like you don't want to go to 1 health because on the off chance he has a way to push through your taunt and just hero powers you, you die, or even second Keeper the Grove. So I think you don't want to attack. I think you'd rather, I don't know, you leave up a minion, then he obviously might be able to kill you if he just pushes past and silences you. It's tough pickings here, and he's just gonna have to go for it, put himself at 1 health, and just cross his fingers that Savjz doesn't have one way to get through this taunt totem here.
Yeah, he actually does not have lethal next turn, even if Savjz can't kill him this turn. So Savjz has a 2-turn window to draw basically a Force of Nature.
No, man, Lotheb is not it. He needed Force of Nature, like you said. or
He only
second
runs
Druid
one.
the Claw, anything to push through this taunt totem. And Kibler's
Yeah.
looking for damage too, but he doesn't get it either.
Yeah.
You gotta trade and push in damage here. It's pretty clear.
Well, you don't have to trade because your totem. Oh, you're at 1. Yeah, you have to trade. Sorry.
yeah.
I was gonna say your totem is gonna heal and he attacks the token with the low tap, but obviously if you're at 1, he'll just kill you on the way back. So.
Man, Kibler could have gotten a slew of better draws than this. Defender of Argus, Alakir, another way to do 4 damage of some kind if I'm missing any way to draw like after Drake, but he picks up Harvest Golem, one of the worst cards at his disposal.
Yeah, you should probably trade that 5/4, right? Because the low tap is going to become a 5/5. Oh.
Wait. Uh-oh. Brian, no!
Now he's in trouble. Yeah.
No, he dies to just a hero pass. Savjz can't believe it. He's like, wait,
face.
what?
Yeah, he must have discounted. He must have made the same mistake I made.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, that's definitely a brain fart there. Brian kind of just laughs it off. That was definitely not according to plan. He was trying to calculate so much of his damage in combat math of what he could have done and threatened. Because if he